today we are going to get into three major causes of diabetes. Hi, Dr. Rodney. It's great to have you back. We want to talk about diabetes today, so welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning, Steve. It's great to be here. Good morning, viewers.
Okay, so we're mainly talking about type 2 diabetes here, right?
Absolutely. Yep, it's an epidemic in our country and across the world, actually. But certainly in our country, which is the United States, it's an epidemic.
Would you say, correct me if I'm wrong, would you say that we're causing this ourselves by what we eat?
Yes,
Okay.
sort of. And the reason I say sort of is because I don't want to just create like guilt or shame in people, and
We don't know. People don't know.
no, because deception is happening. Okay, it's the choices that we're making with foods are not being made in a vacuum. There is a lot of deception, a lot of deceptive information that's being put out. And we've followed it. I followed it also. I had prediabetes, I was overweight, had fatty liver disease, and I have turned all of that around. And as I've said before, and I feel better than I have in years. And I'd like to, share some of the things I've learned with you.
Okay, well, let's jump right into it. And I'll have questions as we go, but what causes diabetes?
Yeah. So I want the first thing, let's talk about the biggest thing first. How about that? I think the biggest thing is our diet, right? It's what we choose to eat. And remember I said that there's a lot of deception going on. If someone who is diagnosed with diabetes follows the American Diabetes Association diet, their diabetes will continue and they will continue to get fatter and sicker. Okay, that it'll just progress if a person follows that diet. That diet suggests they should eat 45 to 65% of their calories as carbohydrate. And that's not going to solve that's not going to solve my problem of having my blood sugars, insulin levels out of control, being overweight, my lipids, cholesterol and triglycerides all whacked out, aren't going to get solved by following that diet. I'll get worse and worse if I follow that. The average American is eating over 130 pounds of flour every year and another 150 pounds of sugar. And
That's two people.
that is a lot of carbohydrate. And people don't know this, but the flour actually has a worse effect on our blood sugar and insulin levels than the sugar does. They're both a big problem for us. I mean, in these large, highly processed doses, and these are massive increases in what they have been previously. And so these are things in our diet that need to change. I can tell you, I eat nowhere near 150 pounds of sugar every year anymore. Okay, I used to eat a lot. And that's how I got fatty liver disease, was eating lots of flour, bread and I don't know, quiche, pastas, and lots of sugar. And it just spikes my blood sugar and insulin levels and all of the downstream metabolic things that happen after that, which are creating fat and inflammation and other problems that just drive the disease of diabetes, or as some people call it, diabesity, and because it's so strongly associated um, with obesity, being overweight.
So what happens when someone eats sugar or flour? How does that contribute to diabetes?
Yeah, well, the most obvious thing is those carbohydrates, then sugar and flour, are broken down quickly in our intestines to sugar. It's absorbed into our bloodstream. So I get this rise in my level, a rapid rise actually, from sugar and the grains. And so as that sugar rises, then the insulin rises in response, okay, to open unlock the cells to store away that sugar. It wants to turn it into fat. Insulin is a fat storage hormone. High levels of insulin also cause inflammation in our bodies, and inflammation it's a problem. Inflammation underlies almost every disease that we have. So, but certainly it's why diabetes is associated with so many other, things like heart disease, strokes, cancer, etc., is because of that underlying problem of inflammation that's caused by these high levels of insulin and high levels of fat. I told you insulin's a fat storage hormone. So it wants to make the body store fat and get fat ultimately. So if I eat other calories like protein and fat, fat doesn't raise insulin levels at all. It's not needed to metabolize. Our bodies don't need insulin to metabolize fat. And next to it, it needs them very little to metabolize protein either. So those two are, don't spike the insulin levels, but carbohydrates do. They are a problem, and that doesn't mean we shouldn't eat any, but it means that, what is that? I'm looking at the numbers here, 285 pounds a year. I'm just suggesting that's a massive overdose of carbohydrates in our diet, and it should be far, far less than that. And I eat far less than that today, and very little sugar, or flour. The carbs that I eat are more, you might find there's some carbs in like cauliflower and broccoli, not very much, but there's a little bit in there. Yeah.
That's true. Fiber two. So sugar one, flour two. Um, those are two causes of diabetes then. Is that what you're saying?
I am. And if you want to unpack sugar, you think, well, sugar, I don't eat sugar. I eat agave nectar. So that's fine, right? No, it's not fine. It's another form of sugar. Honey, another form of sugar. Does it mean it's bad? Someone says, I eat raw honey. I have my own bees and hives, and I get it right in the comb, and is that bad for me? No, not in moderate amounts. If you eat 150 pounds of it a year, probably it's going to be a problem. But it's sugar, and honey's going to have that same effect on my insulin levels and my blood sugar if I'm eating a lot of it straight. Turns out drinking sugar in liquids makes it absorbed especially quickly. And it's especially problematic for us to be drinking it, like sodas, milkshakes, and
Orange juice?
and orange juice, grape juice. Yes, to juice them. These they become, kind of the equivalent of just a sugar drink. It's Is it any better to drink fresh apple juice or fresh, grape juice than I don't know, a Coca-Cola? It probably is a little better, but I think we want to limit it anyway. High fructose corn syrup is especially toxic. Sugar itself is a toxin. At these levels, it is a toxin to our bodies. Yeah.
So let me take a wild guess at another one. And that's going to have something to do with certain types of fats that I don't even call them food, but am I in the ballpark there?
Yes, absolutely. And so we can go into that world of trans fats, and and fats that have a lot of omega-6 in them, which are the vegetable oils. These things are just, they are not good for our
Poison,
system, uh,
poison.
and they're contributing to the whole obesity thing. See that we live in a world where we've been told to eat low-fat, high carbohydrate diet, eat lots of grains and bread and whole grains, and those are high carbohydrate foods, and then to not eat fats, and if you do eat fat, to eat vegetable oil, and so what I found was that the vegetable oils are actually toxic. I strongly recommend don't eat Crisco. Don't don't eat corn oil, canola oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, and and palm kernel oil. These things are in everything, by the way. You start checking labels, every processed food, they are in places you wouldn't expect them. A jar of pickles, a jar of olives, uh, in salad dressings, in pasta sauce, it is just all over the place. And they're toxic oils, and we want to avoid them. And they contribute to the inflammation and the disease that is diabetes. So we need fats. What kind of fats should we eat? Well, I think that's going to be in another video. We're going to talk about what is it that's really going to help us, in this battle against diabetes.
Yeah, so we do want to come back, have you back and talk about, can we reverse diabetes? My guess is that we can, but right now we're saying, look, sugar, flour, trans fats, which are in everything. And they have all these little tricks on the label. Oh no, there's no, you know, there's 0 trans fat per serving. Well, the serving, they make the serving really, really small, and then they make the trans fat zero point 0.4. So you're actually could be getting a lot of trans fat in the food, but they're saying there's none in it.
Yep, that's true of Cool Whip, which is almost entirely trans fats. It's hardly anything but trans fats. And on its label, they can legally say there's none in there because the serving size is defined small enough so that it doesn't meet a threshold where it must be reported. So anyway, there's games being played out there about trans fats. Other sources are deep fat fried things, or just fried things overall, like fried chicken, French fries. These are they have you can take any kind of oil and superheat it, make it really, really hot, and you create trans fats.
Yep, if it starts to smoke, it's too hot. So,
Mhm.
all right, well, we've got some good information on this. Sugar, flour, whole grains, the trans fats, bad fats, vegetable oil, which is a lot of the stuff that these things are fried in when you go to these fast food places. So, all right.
And obesity, that's the thing we started out talking about. Obesity is another primary cause of diabetes. They go together so much, they almost get one name,
Yeah,
diabetes.
you
But
you
not
can see
always.
that.
Some people have diabetes who are not fat. They look skinny. We call those TOFI, thin on the outside, fat on the inside. And and they have insulin resistance also. Yeah. And then exercise. Many of us don't exercise enough, and that contributes to the insulin resistance and the obesity and diabetes is being sedentary. Yeah.
All right, well, let's come back and next one we'll talk about how do we reverse diabetes. So if you guys are listening out there and uh, you're interested in health and wellness, you want to get tips from our trainers. We're going to have a lot of tips on these channels from the trainers. Different tips on weight training and diet and so on. I'm connected with a lot of trainers in our health clubs. So like it and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Thank you, Dr. Rodney.
My pleasure. Have a good day, everybody.